Hi, my name is Kaleigh Braverman from Loyola University, Maryland, and today we're going to talk about using HyperDocs in the elementary classroom to achieve deeper learning. My plan is to introduce HyperDocs into my 4th grade English Language Arts classroom in order to enhance student learning by addressing student agency with approximately 50 students throughout 2 ELA blocks during the day. I want my students to be able to use HyperDocs during various stages of the lesson, and depending on the lesson, students would engage in the completion of that HyperDoc either individually or with a collaborative group to facilitate the different components of a lesson: instruction, practice, and assessment. My idea supports deeper learning in a variety of ways, including the 4 big shifts noted by McLeod and Graber, the 6 arguments noted by McLeod and Sharesky, and deeper learning competencies. In terms of the 4 big shifts, the use of HyperDocs in the classroom dabbles in each of these 4 big shifts, including deeper thinking and learning, authentic work, student agency and personalization, and technology infusion as well. In terms of the 6 arguments for why schools need to be different, I think that HyperDocs mostly address argument number 3 and number 4. And through the use of HyperDocs can really alleviate the issues that we're seeing in the classroom with teachers being the sage on the stage and the person that's in charge of learning, and having students disengage with their learning, leading to boredom and lack of critical thinking. For the deeper learning competencies, I believe that the use of HyperDocs really hones in on mastering core academic content and also thinking critically and solving complex problems as well. I believe that my pilot project best aligns with the technology integration model of TPAC, which is really that sweet spot between where knowledge of technology, pedagogy, and content all come together to propel learning activities to the next level. The use of TPAC will improve student outcomes in the classroom drastically, allowing students to have a teacher who's reflective and understanding, and also pushing students to engage in collaborative learning and really work on their P21 skills to prepare them for the workforce. At the end of this pilot project, I want my students to have a comprehensive understanding of how to use and learn with HyperDocs. So that really encompasses being able to access and share and edit HyperDocs, also being able to explore topics through research and evaluate sources, and finally being able to create products that demonstrate their understanding. My proposal aligns with multiple Common Core state standards for the 4th grade, including writing and speaking and listening standards. And then specifically, the HyperDocs will delve into reading informational texts and reading literature standards, depending on what the 4th grade topic is that we're working with. My proposal also supports the ISTE standards for students in at least one way for all 7 standards due to its innovative nature and relation to technology. This pilot project would be ongoing throughout the whole school year, and I intend to use these HyperDocs 1 per week in my classroom to convey the content necessary for the week's instruction. Of course, I would need to devote time to teaching students how to use this at the start of the year, but jumping in feet first is always a great way to ensure that the project becomes, gets implemented. Specifically, when I envision this working in my classroom, I would assume that students would arrive to class with their one-to-one devices, but we would begin with a brief introduction and a hook or motivation activity to discuss the lesson's learning goals. Then students would really have the opportunity to break off and use their devices to access the HyperDoc, working through it at their own pace, completing the engage, explore, explain, experience, share, and reflect components to keep things consistent each week. Some of these activities would be completed individually, but others in a collaborative and flexible group, depending on what's needed. And finally, there'd be an optional activity to extend, wrap up the hyperdoc, and push beyond what students already know for a little bit of a challenge. I'll know that students are learning through assessing their explain, share, and reflect sections, and that would really help me as a teacher to identify the students who may need more practice, one-on-one teaching, or even just small group challenges. I created an example hyperdoc to incorporate into my classroom specifically for the next upcoming year regarding theme. So you can take a look at that. I've linked it in my references to give a really good example of what I'm trying to convey here. In terms of materials, students really don't need much, just their one-to-one student devices, access to Google Suite, reliable internet access, free accounts to digital resources, and flexible seating, which are all items that I can check off my list because they are given to us for free by the county, and flexible seating is something that I've been working on in my classroom to ensure that students have a nice space to work in, either individually or collaboratively. These are my references. And finally, thank you for your attention to this topic. If you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter or via email. Thank you so much. Bye.